the Rangers Journal Night.
Hello and welcome to the Rangers Journal. I'm David Thommo and I'm here today speaking with Sam. We're going to have a bit of a preview of the Rangers versus Lyon Europa League game, which is due to take place at Ibrox at 8 p.m. on Thursday, the 3rd of October. So, Sam, first of all, thank you for giving up your time and coming on and having a chat with us. First time you've been on the pod. Would you like to introduce yourself to the viewers and let us know who you are and where you're from?
Yeah, sure. My name's Sam. People probably know me on Twitter in the French Lyon community as just the Australian guy that follows the club. I'm the only one, I think. There's not too many others. Just we form a bit of a small knit community of English speaking fans of the club. So there's not too many of us, but we're scattered all around the globe. So it's good. It's a good little bunch to be a part of.
Okay, and you're right in saying you're in Australia, yeah?
Yeah, so I'm from Brisbane in Australia, so I'm not near where all the beaches are, the best ones. So we're kind of sandwiched between the Sunshine Coast and the Gold Coast. So I don't know if people know too much about those areas, but yeah, it's a good place to be living.
Yeah, and what's the football sort of community like down there? Is it a lot of French supporters, or is it a good mix?
Not so many French supporters. Football in Australia is growing, but it's still not anywhere near the as big as the other sports we have here. So it's definitely growing, and it's a lot bigger than it ever has been. It's really popular with the younger generations. So I think, in another 10 years or so, you'll see almost that whole entire generation will have at least a club that they're aware of or that they follow from a distance. And I don't think it's too far off becoming people's second sport. There's a lot of sport that goes on in Australia, so it's it's a little bit hard to explain, but we have basically two main codes of football, or what we call football, and then what we call soccer here, which is also called football, it's helpful for us because soccer differentiates from the other two codes. There's a lot to follow here, and unfortunately, it's still probably number 3 out of the top ones.
Mm.
Yeah.
So how did you get into following Lyon then, being all the way in Australia?
Well, it's a long story. It's not that exciting, but the short story is basically as a teenager, well, as a young guy, I saw France win the '98 World Cup, and I was obsessed with Brazil. I saw the Nike ad for Ronaldinho and all of them, Ronaldo, and I thought they were like the Harlem Globetrotters of football, of soccer, and I was just, I loved that video. And then that was all we really got. And then I remember watching it with my dad early in the morning. It must have been like 5 o'clock in the morning, and he just had it on in the TV in their room, and I saw France beat Brazil, and I thought, well, if Brazil's the best team I've ever heard of, I only knew one team, and France beat them, they must be really good. So then I kind of carried that little sentiment towards as I got older and started playing FIFA with my mates, and they were always Premier League teams, and I thought I'd just be that odd one out, and so I just knew French football, and I just picked who was the best at the time, which was Lyon. I think they had a good team on FIFA, and they'd won 4 league titles in a row. So I thought I'll just be the best French team and just go from there. And it's just stuck ever since.
Yeah, bit of a glory hunter then at the time.
Yeah, I was. Yeah. And then, I followed, and then I followed them from a distance, and then started getting into them. Started watching the matches when it was a bit easier, because it's up until not that long ago, it was almost impossible to watch anything outside the Premier League. So so I managed to sneak my way into some live matches on the phone and early hours of the morning, all hours at night, and yeah, that's started around 2013, 14, I think, 15. It's hard to, I can't remember now, but
Yeah.
yeah, so I've been pretty diehard since then.
Excellent. So let's get into the game on Thursday then. I think it'd be fair to say that Leon have like Rangers probably have had a little bit of a mixed start to their season.
Yep.
They've played 4 league games, won 2, drew 1 and lost 1, and they beat Olympiacos in the first Europa League game.
Yep.
What would you say are Leon's strengths, and how are they going to come out and play against Rangers?
Yeah. It's hard to really predict. Leon have played mostly tinkered with 2 formations this season. So the PSH, the manager, is still, he's had a rebuild, and it's a bit of a construction site at the moment. So he's had a lot of work to do with an unbalanced squad. So he's kind of had to, I want to say, not rely on, he's kind of had to shoehorn players in some regard, that just to fit a tactic. So while he waits for the new recruits to, I guess, establish themselves. So he's had to put up with an imbalanced team. So we're basically still inconsistent in the way we line up. So um, it's hard to predict, but he has to. At the moment, we're kind of relying on the experienced players and still waiting for the new recruits to really do anything. So it's a bit of a mixed bag at the moment. But the Olympiacos match was probably our best match so far, and I think there'll be a lot of confidence going into the next Rangers match, as a lot of those players were rested on the weekend, and we managed to get a win despite the run of play, and I think there'll be a lot of confidence going into this next match.
There's a number of players in the Leon squad that British fans and Rangers fans would probably have heard of. Obviously Lacazette up front. We've got Said Benrahma, who was signed permanently in the summer for just over 14 million euros. Wilfred Zaha, Nemanja Matic. Are these the players that are going to be the danger men for Rangers, or is Lacazette getting a little bit older now? He's not as much in the team as what he probably was last season before.
Yeah, I think the Lacazette's not had a goal yet this season, which he is. Even when he was in his prime before he left for Arsenal, he would have slow starts every now and then. I think there was one season in particular he had a slow start, and he still ended up scoring 20 goals that season. And I think he's struggling with the new lineup. I mean, not a whole lot has changed for him in terms of last season, where he was our main man in attack. I think this season it's almost like a bit of a transition. I think a passing of the guard almost. I think in his attitude and the way he's been playing, he's been a lot more less selfish, not almost to his detriment. We kind of need him to be that man up front, but I think the goals are going to come. But yeah, he's still still a danger man. When he's not on the field, Leon are a completely different team. In terms of the other danger men, there's a there's a little secret player that we have at the moment. He's filling in the role of that Bradley Barcola left, as he left for PSG, called Malik Fofana. We signed him from Ghent, and he's our little super sub at the moment, and probably our most promising player in attack, and probably the player that will cause most of the issues for Rangers. He's only young though, so he's mostly been utilised off the bench as that super sub role, but the impact he has is, yeah, I haven't seen too many players for Leon have an impact like that off the bench. Not particularly not wingers anyway. We don't seem to do well with wingers for a long time, so it's nice to see him. And then the rest of the squad is still almost a little bit lackluster. So we're not been scoring goals, so it's hard to predict. Apart from Malik Fofana and Lacazette as the obvious ones, they're the ones that are going to have the goals. But we've having Toliso's come back into form after a bit of a rough season last season, and the man in form at the moment has been Ryan Cherky. So he's just signed a new contract extension, and he's out of the Lyon loft, so to speak. So there was a bit of umming and ahhing whether he was going to sign a contract, which has affected his performances. But now that seems to be behind him. He's come on with a new vigor and really looks like he's switched on, and he's playing with control that he's never really had before, and he seems to be really he's becoming decisive, which has been his struggle. So he scored a brilliant goal against Olympiacos, and and he changed the game. Played probably his best game I've seen in a long time. So it'll be interesting to see. But yeah, they're the main men.
And where would you say is that Rangers should be targeting against Lyon? Where would you say the weakness is?
The midfield. The midfield has been all over the place for Lyon. They really struggle to protect the back line, and also vice versa. They don't really offer too much creativity in the midfield. So it was one of the really areas where Lyon needed to strengthen after last season, and they didn't really manage to do that so much. So it's really devoid of any really technical players. We've seen the likes of Bruno Guimaraes and Lucas Paquetá, and they really upheld that technical quality that Lyon are used to having in the midfield. Lyon have always been, since I've followed them, always had technical players in the midfield. Ndombele, Husamawa when he was coming through, and it's always Gorkov when he was still playing. And this has been the first real time when the midfielders we have are mostly industrious players, but at the same time they're old and they're not very dynamic. So Cherky has helped that a lot. He's plays that attacking mid role, whereas Ben Rama has been mostly utilised on the wing but hasn't really done well. Yet to see him behind the striker and play that same role as Cherky, which he can do. But definitely the midfield is going to be the weakness. And if Rangers can control possession and really win those balls, Lyon have been pretty lousy in the midfield in terms of duels won, and really relying heavily on Nemanja Matic and Tolisso. But both of those players are getting on in their years. Matic only seems to last about an hour before his body starts to fall off, and Tolisso's been actually quite good. But it's the third midfielder that's really the question, and depending on how we line up, it's going to be the point of contention, I think, for how the match goes.
And as a Lyon fan, and obviously interacting with other Lyon fans, what do you expect out of the game on Thursday? Would you take a point, or do you think you can come to Ibrox and win?
Yeah, it's hard to know. I think it's flip a coin with Lyon at the moment. We seem to win games we play bad in. We seem to lose games we play well in. But I think it's going to be it's going to be the proper squad. It's not going to be a rotated squad. And the last match they played played probably some of the best football I've seen for a little while against rivals Marseille. We lost that match in a thrilling 4-3 loss in extra time due to a number of mistakes by us. But the actual content of the match was quite good. Polar opposites to the game of the weekend, where we played a rotated squad and couldn't string two passes together. So, but I definitely think it'll be a match similar to Olympiacos. I would expect them to line up the same way, with a 4-3-3, with Cherky probably behind in a more advanced role behind the striker. And I think they'll be going for a win. I think they'll be happy with the draw, considering, but I think it depends on the match, the way the match pans out. I don't think they would I certainly wouldn't want to predict a score before, like a win or a draw before the match. But yeah, I think you'd have to go out and try and win this match. I think there's too much riding on it, and I think it would be a dampener for the players' confidence if they were to go out and play for a draw or to have that mentality of accepting a draw. I think they've got to go out and try and win this and build some sort of momentum, which has been lacking in the league. And I think this is their avenue to do it. And I think they're all aware that Rangers aren't going to be an easy team. We've got even results against them in the past. I think it's a win each and a draw.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think Lyon might struggle with the intensity. I think Rangers will come out thinking that you know, with their own qualities, and I think they're used to probably winning more than Lyon in the past. So I think, yeah, I think a draw is probably likely, but I could see it going either way. So it's a
Mm.
very on the fence answer, but it's hard for
Yeah,
me
well,
to confidently say Lyon are going to go out there and get a win with considering how up and down we are.
yeah, and Rangers in European competitions, especially over the last few years, we have been very strong at home. I think we've only lost three in the last 21, I think it is. So it shows the
Yeah,
sort of home form we've got. And just had a look. Your next game after us is at home at Besiktas. So
yeah,
you seem to predict that if you get 9 points, you'll be close to getting through to that next round. So I
yeah,
think for both teams, it's a game where it's winnable, and then going into the next game, it's looking good. So just finally, before we finish, Sam, what as a goal as a season, what would Lyon be looking for this season? What would be a successful season for Lyon, in your opinion?
Success would be maintaining a European position, most likely in the Europa League. I don't think they'll be happy with the investment. I think with the investments they've made financially, Europa League is an absolute minimum, but they'll be wanting Champions League. At this stage, it looks unlikely, but the last season we came back in thrilling, probably one of the most crazy seasons I think French football's ever seen. We were dead last at Christmas, I think it was, and then we ended up
Yeah,
going on a crazy run, winning most of our matches from a losing position as well. And I think we only lost 2 matches, maybe. I think it was only two losses, if I'm not mistaken. Don't quote me on that, but yeah, it was an epic run. And you'd look at the first half and think that they were one team, and come out the second team, they'd be completely different, mostly by the subs like Malik Fofana and these other young guys coming on. Um, so I think they've invested a lot this season to try and be more consistent. It hasn't paid off yet. I think a lot of their recruits are looking pretty bad so far. So Zaha looks like he wants to go back to Turkey and eat some kebabs or something. I don't know. And looks like he'd rather be anywhere else but us. But then again, he was decisive against Olympiacos. He looked like he was just fresh out of a coma on the weekend. But who knows? And then a lot of the other guys still haven't had much chance. But at the same time, the chances they have had have looked pretty bad. So I think it just depends if the coach can get them going good. I think if they can start to find some form and create a run, then League One's not that competitive. I don't want to throw shade on any of the other teams, but it's a league where you can go on big runs if you get just the basics right. It's not super strong. The teams aren't there's it's not as competitive as it used to be. There's obviously PSG, and then apart from them, Marseille have started really well, but the third spot and down, they looks up for grabs. I think, and I think if we can get on a good run, then we'd be happy with Champions League. Without Champions League, it starts to look a little bit dicey. I'm not too sure if they'll be happy with it, but yeah, there's a lot to see. It's early days.
yeah. Well, we'll wrap up. We'll wrap up there, Sam. Once again, thank you very much for giving up your time to come and join us. Just before we finish, where can people find you if you want to interact with you?
Yeah, sure.
Twitter, Instagram, etc.? What's all your social media platforms?
Yeah, so yeah, thanks for having me on. It's been a pleasure. Yeah, anyone that wants to follow me and see me get angry most of the time early in the morning and get frustrated, you can follow me on Twitter. That's where I'm most known for. It's the Twitter handle's at OZOL1950. And my name's Samuel J. And yeah, that's where you'll find me. I'm not really too present on anywhere else. But yeah, if they want to come on and have a laugh and drop a like, then so be it. But yeah, it's good times.
Excellent. Again, thank you very much, Sam, for coming on, and for all our regular viewers. Like and subscribe to the channel. Got podcasts coming up near enough every day, and hopefully, Sam, you enjoy the game on Thursday, but not too much. And I hope the result doesn't go the way you
Yeah.
want it. But other
Yeah,
than
that's
that, I hope
right.
you put in a good performance that you can carry on through the season. So thank you again, everyone, for watching. I've been David Thommo, and just remember, every night is a Rangers Journal night.